Thanks, listeners, for joining us. It is time for Elko Live today, and today's program is featuring our update in city news, as we like to do on Tuesday. And today, in advance of a regular council session, there's actually a special meeting, and we're going to find out more about what that entails with our city manager, Jan Baum. And we're also so pleased to have our Elko City Planner in studio, and Kathy Laughlin is going to bring us up to date on some really exciting possibilities for the future, as well as the progress that's been made in various parts of Elko in partnership with our private property owners. It's really a cool thing to outline, and some of the other progress that's being made in some other public infrastructure. So welcome, ladies. Always a pleasure to see you. Thank you
for having us.
So I guess, Jan, we'll start with you because we know today's it's a public hearing, right? Beginning at 4 o'clock today?
Yes. So the City Council is having a special meeting today at 4 o'clock, and it will be two public hearings. One for the Punch Bowl regarding their liquor license, and the second one will be about the Elko Inn and considering a possible nuisance.
Now, these are important proceedings, and they're unlike a city council meeting. First of all, they are similar in that they are open to the public, so the community can attend. You can watch online at the Elko City website. But it is a process, it is a procedure, and there are lawyers involved, right, Jan?
Yes, so it's similar to a little court proceeding, and it's called a public hearing. And the city of Elko will have an attorney, and both the Punch Bowl and the Elko Inn can have a legal representation as well if they wish.
Now, if you wanted to go online, attached to the regular agenda for today's meeting that starts at 4 o'clock, there are 524 pages of evidence and exhibits on, I think, on both sides, if you will, or at least on the city's presentation for the two separate hearings, which will be conducted, right, beginning with the Punch Bowl?
Yes, we're going to start with the Punch Bowl, and you're right, there are a lot of documents. Both of these issues have been going on for quite a few months in our community, and so there are a lot of backup there to support both of the hearings. And so if anybody would like to participate, if they cannot make it to the hearing, they're more than welcome to go on to, if they go to the go-to meeting, then they can participate. If they go, and then there's another link there where you can just watch the meeting. So there are two different ways to either watch or participate in the meeting, or of course coming to the meeting as well. And it is very similar to a court case. So the city attorney will start with an opening statement, and the licensee or a representative for the licensee will also start with an opening statement. And then the city attorney will present the case and call witnesses and swear them in and ask them questions. And then, of course, the representative will do the same. And then after that, the city council may question any of the witnesses. They will have to be sworn in again, of course. And then there can be rebuttals by both sides. It's just so similar to a court case. And then they'll make closing arguments. The city attorney will make a closing argument, and then the licensee can also make a closing argument. And then at the end, the city council will deliberate and make a motion. And so it is it's similar to a court case. And so in the case of the Elko Inn, what the city council is going to determine is if the licensee has violated or caused to be violated any of the provisions or the code that covers their liquor license. And if indeed the city council, there can be two outcomes. Obviously, they can agree that there are violations, or they can say there are not violations. And if there are violations, then the liquor license for the Punch Bowl can either be terminated, suspended, or conditioned. And so that will be up to the city council based on what they hear in the open public hearing.
And speaking with Jan Baum, our city manager, we've had these proceedings before. In most recent history, I think it would have been the Horseshoe downtown, which is now defunct. It's a brand new establishment. It's beautifully done. It's Ruby Sports Bar.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I wasn't here then, but I've been hearing a lot about that. So yes, they had a public hearing based on some violations of their liquor license. Mm-hmm.
The reason, this is serious because a liquor license is a privilege. It's not a right, and so it's something that has to be upheld, and there are lots of codes. There's police involvement. There are records of police being called to the establishment. There are ways in which you have to purchase and serve alcohol, too, which is part of the license.
It is required that they use a distributor to purchase their alcohol. That's part of the code. And so, there are a few different violations that are listed in the complaint, and that is one of them, the lack of using a distributor. But there's also, like you said, there are some public safety issues there. And of course, issues happen at bars. Well, we know that, right? But it's up to the owner of the bar or the license holder of the liquor license that when they feel that there are going to be, there might be a fight or things might be getting a little bit rough, that's when you call dispatch and ask for the police to come down and just kind of eliminate some of that or try to... I'm sorry, I'm not thinking of the right words, but just at least make it so there isn't a large fight or anything like that. It isn't just chase it outside. It's, let's work together and make sure that we can try to eliminate some of those negative experiences.
Oh, Jan, I think you did a fine job explaining it. We don't have this come up very often, and as you said, it's new for you. But there are plenty of privileged liquor license holders in the downtown community, throughout the county and the state, and they know that this is a privilege, and so they know how to maintain that atmosphere that you were describing. It's again about keeping patrons and the community and adjacent property owners safe.
Absolutely.
So they all have that expectation.
Mm-hmm. And there's always neighbors, and just be a good neighbor.
Yes, definitely. I know we might roll Kathy into that discussion as we get talking about RDA, because that community in particular has worked so hard to clean up areas and maintain alleyways. And, you're welcome to chime in now if you want, Kathy. Yeah, because keeping those alleys clean and preserving the artwork, and a lot of those are important considerations for property owners, too.
It really is. We started the redevelopment area in 2008, really to eliminate blight, provide for public safety, or at least feel safer in the downtown area, but also just to clean up the area and to provide an avenue for public-private investment. And I think we've done a really good job. For the first 8 years or so, we did a lot of money was spent on consultants, and we developed a lot of plans, some of which were adopted, some of which were not. But after that, I did start as the redevelopment manager in 2016. And I said, we're done spending money on consultants. We want to see actually things that are of value that people can say, yeah, my money went towards that. So we wanted to actually see projects. So we created 3 different programs, grant programs, that we really have been successful in. One of those grant programs that really stimulates eliminating blight, but it also stimulates public-private partnership and other investment in the downtown, would be the storefront grant program. So one of the best programs that we've created. We've invested over $370,000 so far in the downtown area. And a great example is Glennon and Sandville. They're just now finishing. And what a perfect example of what the storefront grant program should be about. So we hope that stimulates some more investment on that block. As you can see, the 600 block really had a lot of investment. Idaho Street on the 500 block had some good investment as well, or the 400 block on the Idaho Street. So we're excited about that we're going to continue with that storefront program. Another program that we created was the demolition program. And the demolition program was created to help stimulate the tax increment growth. And one example, we've only had one participant in the demolition program, but that was Gregory Insurance. And they tore down the old building, built a new building, which looks a lot better than the old building. And our tax increment grew 401% on that particular property. So that's what we are about, is we have to increase the tax increment to have enough money to do the projects, but we have to give that incentive. And that incentive is through these grant programs. So another program that we created was the infrastructure grant program. And that one was really to eliminate some of these vacant buildings. They sit there, new property owners come in, it's very expensive, construction is right now, and it's very costly to bring these buildings up to current code. Everything from the ADA to maybe fire sprinklers to maybe they just need a new water line. So what the redevelopment did is we created a new infrastructure grant program that will help with these costs. They can put in an ADA bathroom, they can maybe widen their door, anything that is required to bring the property up to current code. And we just had the first set of openings in that grant application period, July 1st through the 31st. And unfortunately, we did not have any applicants for it. So we advertised in different ways and sent out quite a few emails and DBA and Chamber of Commerce. So the next grant cycle will be January 1st through the 31st. And we're going to throw the first $15,000 per applicant. There was $30,000 allocated for the July cycle. We're going to push that into the January. So we'll have $60,000 available for people to apply for that. And it's eligible for if you have a change of use in your building, maybe you go from an office to a restaurant, or if your building has sat vacant. So there's quite a few properties within our redevelopment area that it really could benefit from this grant. And I think this is going to stimulate private investment, making sure that some of these buildings don't sit vacant. They can get reoccupied. And that is really what the redevelopment area is about. And then that gives us the tax increment to do projects. Unfortunately, we only get we budget around $370,000 a year for revenues. And so when we have a big project, it takes us several years to get enough money to do the project. So we're right now in the design phase of our next project. We're hoping spring of 24 we'll be starting on the sidewalk project. And the sidewalk project is going to be the 500 block of Commercial Street and the 400 block of both Railroad and Commercial Street. We'll be replacing all the sidewalk. As you know, it's got safety hazards there, like in front of Henderson Bank Building of the double steps there. That will all be eliminated. We'll be going into the street as well, having to do some street improvements. There will be some trees added, some landscaping along those street frontages. Landscaping, lighting, all will be part of the project. It's going to be a very expensive project. So as that is our next project, that's what we're working towards. We'll start that project, hopefully be able to fund it right away and not have to go through a special assessment district for that. So, we start the clock again. We start saving the money till we get enough money built up for the next project. But we are working one project at a time. And the RAC was very good at phasing that. They created the program, they created the phasing, and itemized the projects in order of prioritizing. So that they did a great job at that. And now we are just implementing one project after another.
Kathy Laughlin is our Elko City Planner. That's a fantastic news, Kathy. And again, these are all investments in the community. That $370,000 that you described in the storefront, it would probably, you would consider that might be double when you think about the private investment, because this is a match, correct?
This is a 50-50 match.
Yes. So we've had close to $1 million in that was leveraged to buy, and that was a buy-in from those private property owners, and they must be super satisfied because it seems to inspire other property owners to do the same.
Yeah. And that is the goal. You know, when you see your neighbor improve his property, you want to improve yours as well. So that really is the goal. And we have seen that spur development throughout. So, and we really see where our tax increment grows is through the demolition program.
Yes.
And so we've seen where a good example would be Maverick. Maverick tore down the old store and the old house next door and built the new store. Well, their tax increment growth off of that was tremendous. And so really that's what has helped the redevelopment and be able to increase that tax increment in order to do other projects. And it really isn't just about block end grass strips, as I've read several times lately. That's not what it's really about. We are doing all sorts of investments into that downtown area. And it does spur development. It spurs economic growth.
Well, and Kathy, we've seen that because among the very first projects, I believe, is the time that you came on, and thank goodness you did. You started to oversee and help administer with approval of the Elko City Council, improving water lines, just basic infrastructure that the city could facilitate so businesses could even have the potential to grow and to serve their existing customers. There was broadband infrastructure, electrical improvements.
Yeah, and that's part of the redevelopment area as well.
Mm-hmm.
People don't think about power lines as being blight. But one of the first projects that we did was underground all the power lines along 7th Street. And just by changing that through the corridor, it really allowed for us to expand Centennial Park into 7th Street because we no longer had these power lines running through there, which then allowed for the tower. And we just did another redevelopment project where we underground the power lines behind Machi's and Bodley's and that entire block. And that really changed that alley. So that gives them a lot more opportunity for that parking lot behind there that is owned by Stockman's.
That's right. That'll facilitate that probably sooner now because of that rearrangement, reconfiguration, Kathy.
Right. And, when we see a problem, we've tried to come up with a solution. And one of the problems that we did see several years ago was the 400 block of Idaho Street between Idaho and Commercial. Or Railroad, we had quite a few tipper carts with the dumpsters there, and because we had so many bars and different businesses along that alley, and we saw a problem. We saw it was filthy all the time. There was congestion. You couldn't drive through that alley. We had complaints from not only business owners but Elko Sanitation. So when we see a problem, we've tried to come up with a solution for that. And that is another example of redevelopment. We came up with a solution. We consolidated all the trash enclosure into one location, redid our franchise agreement for that block for Elko Sanitation, and now it is a lot cleaner of an environment down that alley. So we have tried to identify a problem, come up with a solution, and make it work best for redevelopment.
Well, it sure shows. And again, it brings attention to why we're having a public hearing at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and that is to consider the privileged liquor license of the Punch Bowl, whether or not they're contributing to, keeping up appearances or to the detriment of that alleyway and the nearby property, and some other serious allegations of things that are also going on inside, Kathy. But the whole time I've been covering the city of Elko, we have had some very significant series. We had stabbings and shootings. We had bar fights and brawls, and we don't hear of that anymore, Kathy. And I think it's because there has been this investment, and private property owners feel like they can invest into the property when it's going to be maintained safely.
I agree.
So that is all part of redevelopment as well.
It really is.
And it's never perfect, and it's always a work in progress, and we're going to talk about that too with you, okay?
Yeah, we are continuing to work.
Yes,
That's
definitely.
Every day we come up with something else.
Yes, so Kathy Laughlin is our city planner, and we'll give her a little break because obviously she is very passionate about this work. And Jan, I'm sure that the city is very proud of the work that Kathy and her staff do, and I know the city council is. They vote, consistently in favor of these projects, and the buck stops with them. That's ultimately their approval.
Absolutely. And, they're projects downtown and have just really improved that district. And I think that sometimes when you're there all the time, you don't realize how it has improved because you haven't seen it. But I think I've told you recently, I had people in town and they were like, it is beautiful down here. And it really is. They've done an amazing job. And I'm excited to see the sidewalk project.
Yeah, that's going to be great. We used to have problems even just with broken glass, but it took incremental changes and it took buy-in from property owners, a lot of trust and a lot of belief in that the city would be able to accomplish. And I think Kathy's experience in this community and her credibility and professionalism has gone a long way to steering that, because there's no way that you could get as many diverse people together on some of these topics without
Absolutely.
that. So
it
thank
takes
you.
a public-private partnership, and she has really driven that.
So that public hearing regarding the Punch Bowl liquor license, that'll be at 4. And then we just want to remind listeners that directly following that, that's the one that probably will have a lot of eyeballs, because for several months now, if not for a year, we've had very serious issues going on at the Elko Inn at 8th and Idaho Street.
Yes. So after the public hearing on the Punch Bowl, then we will move into the Elko Inn public hearing. And so the Elko Inn was issued with a public nuisance letter not too long ago, or notification, and the owner of that property required a public hearing to declare that it was not a public nuisance. So that's where we are, and so we're going to have a public hearing to determine if indeed there is a public nuisance. And if City Council determines there is not a public nuisance, then that will be it. It will be over. If they do determine that there is a public nuisance, then they will, once they declare there's a public nuisance, then they will determine how the property owner needs to abate that public nuisance. So it's going to be an experience, and we'll see where we end up, and I'm hoping that we do end up with some steps for the property owner to abate this nuisance and clean this property up and help the neighbors and the community with the public safety. Those are the biggest concerns that are happening on that property right now. I believe in the report it stated from January until the end of July or into August, there have been 56 calls into that neighborhood for calls from the police department. And not only is that scary for the neighbors, but it's not a good use of our public resources and our public safety resources. So we need some change. And unfortunately, it takes time, and there are a lot of processes to go through. But we're to the point where hopefully we can get to where the public nuisance is addressed, and there are some steps for the property owner to abate the nuisance.
So that will be the agenda today, that public hearing. First, the Punch Bowl liquor license consideration, and followed by the Elko Inn at 8th and Idaho Street. And for everybody who has, been tormented by this, and I live not in that exact neighborhood, but I understand what people have been going through, and it can be very painful. And so everybody who's contributed with police reports and been diligent and just as patient as they can be, hopefully this will open yet another door, toward progress. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And we rely on those residents to voice their concerns and to report their concerns. And we've been saying that, and I think I've said that on this show a couple times, but it's very important that people voice their opinions and either attend the hearing in person or remotely on the GoToMeeting.
All right. There is, in the documents attached in the agenda today, there is a letter from the owner, from Keith Warburton. He has indicated that 24-hour securities will be deployed at the property, but that's just this week, I guess a recent development. And that also they have recommended the property be reflagged and operated with a third-party motel operator as a Shore Stay brand. They've not yet committed, but most other brands are already found in Elko. So at least that will be presented. That's what was written in his
Yes,
letter. So
that is the letter where he requested the public hearing, and we have yet to see the 24-hour security that was promised. But we've gone through quite a long time with this owner, and he's made a few promises that we haven't seen, and so I think it'll be important that if he does put security on the property, it needs to be a licensed security firm.
right, due process is going to be met during this afternoon's meeting, and the community, again, whether or not you're weighing in, they probably have all the witnesses and the testimony and everything lined up. But if you've contributed to this in the past, you might find your statements included, and that's helpful.
Absolutely, and if they're interested in participating, they can most definitely show up.
Okay, thank you, Jan, for that. City Council at 4 o'clock today will be a series of public hearings, and we'll finish up the program today because I want to make sure we bring Kathy back to describe that while the Resource Advisory Committee has been dissolved officially, the work of the RDA is continuing, as you described, with a huge sidewalk project. In fact, the fund is very healthy. Kathy, I think there's, close to $1 million or?
Little over $1 million.
Yes, which is great. That's
Yep.
what you wanted, as you said, those increments coming in.
It is, and we will continue, even without the Redevelopment Advisory Committee, we'll continue to move forward. The agency will be able to do everything. We still invite the public to attend, participate, be a part of the agency. They still have an avenue. They can still reach out to me as the redevelopment manager and bring me ideas, bring me concerns. We will certainly still work together, even though we don't have the advisory council. We have a lot of work to do. We understand that, but we are moving forward and continuing. And the Elko Inn is a prime example. That is in the heart of our redevelopment area. We do not want to see that property fenced off. We don't want to see it not being utilized. We would love to see it be in a hotel again and have people visiting our downtown and utilizing that hotel. That's what redevelopment is about. And to see a beautiful hotel in the downtown, in the middle of our redevelopment area, being utilized the way it is, that's not what redevelopment is about. So
Absolutely. It's been a heartache to see this. And again, it's coming to a head. It will take a little more time, depending on what's decided at today's hearing. But thank you, Kathy. And I just want to remind people, Kathy Laughlin does an excellent job. And everything that she's saying, I mean, you are sincere. I see you work with all kinds of business leaders and civic groups in the community and property owners. And this property at 8th and Idaho, that would be a prime example if they really do want to turn it into something that contributes to the rest of the community.
Correct.
So, yes. So, so thanks, Kathy. We'll check in with you as time goes by. The RDA is the Elko City Council. That's where the decisions are made. But planners, your office, you as a city planner, will be working directly with property owners and people who submit applications. I mean, there's still a process there. We just don't have the layer of advisory. We'll just have individual advisors.
correct.
Okay.
Yep, correct.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Thank you.
Did we get to all your topics today?
We did, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your leadership and your vision on behalf of the city of Elko. We're really fortunate that you chose to be in this position. So,
Well, thank you.
yes, Kathy. Jan, thanks for bringing Kathy Laughlin on today, and thanks for describing these hearings that we're going to have this afternoon. Again, it's another important part of Elko history anytime we have these come up, right?
Right, and we're all learning, and it'll be interesting to see how it comes about. And then I just wanted to make a couple public service announcements,
please
if that's
do.
okay.
Of
And so, of
course.
course, that the Elko County Fair is in town Friday through Sunday, and we want to make sure that everybody comes and participates in the activities and the horse racing, and of course the 4-H and all of the activities having to do with that, the brandings, everything with that. And then I just want to note, of course, I'm sure you've been saying this all week, but school's in session, so everybody slow down. We have kids all over. They're just coming out of the summer break and they're not paying attention, and it's up to our adults and our drivers to really pay attention. So everybody slow down.
Thanks for the reminder of that, Jan Baum, our city manager. The fair parade is Friday, 11 o'clock, downtown Elko. Again, another great downtown activity. The parade steps off at 11. It's not too late to be in the parade. The Lions Club are organizing that. The Blackjack Challenge is Monday. That pari-mutuel horse racing extends right through Labor Day, and you just couldn't have more fun than at the fair. It's old-fashioned fair fun. You'll see exhibits. You'll have delicious food from the vendors there in the midway. It's just it's a reunion for the people of Elko County, usually several generations. There's some high school reunions that happen and just family fun, and it goes right through Monday. Oh, the dinner in the park, Elko High School Indians, that's Thursday. I know, so there's a lot. So don't forget to get tickets. It's a steak dinner under the beautiful trees in our city park, and they're going to have a dessert auction. And the home arts at the fair are so much fun. I'm really looking forward to. I have a friend who does beading, and he won the grand champion last year. So go, Cody. I would like to see him repeat if possible.
There's something for everybody.
It's true. It is so impressive. So many opportunities. And I didn't mention all the, but there are various stock horse events. So these are ranching traditions that are brought into town, so we can get to enjoy them and see them. And you'll see little tiny kids participating, and grandmas and grandpas, and
right, so much tradition.
Yeah, you said it. It's the Elko County Fair, and livestock show and sale, pari-mutuel horse racing, thoroughbreds, and quarter horses, and there's big money at stake, so you can expect exciting competition. So that's happening through Monday.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. We always like to close on a happy note. And thank you, listeners, for joining us today for our radio show Elko Live here on KELK.